Alrighty, it's just about 13 hours into the day of Wednesday, March 14th, 2012, and it's time for Comments X. That's right. Yeah, another day of Comments X. We're now into our third month of Comments X. Our views are moving up there nicely. Our subscriptions are so-so, they're pretty good. And so what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about efficiency. Yes, efficiency. The efficiency is, as defined in physics, is the amount of energy used to do something. So in this case, we'll put a time frame on our energy use. The energy use is in one day. And what we're going to be doing is the amount of video editing in terms of producing, as I said, my writing. Rather than writing a paper, I'm going to be producing a documentary or these videos, and this is going to be my writing. So for my case, I have to sort of sit down and figure out my efficiency, and that means how much energy do I spend during the day to produce what I'm producing, and how do I adjust that so that I can do more. So I started off doing one video a day. That was Comments X. Then now recently, just about starting last week, I am now doing 2 videos a day. Total content time is now about, I'm adding about 50 minutes of video per day onto the internet. The amount of energy that it's taking me to do this is now decreasing. Finishing up when I get up just a few minutes ago. I finished yesterday around 4 o'clock in the morning. That's 2 hours earlier than I expected to finish. And I'm actually up earlier today. Usually last time I was starting around 15 hours. Now I'm starting at back to 13 hours again. Starting at 13 hours rather than the 15 hours. For those of you who need to know, I'm using a 24-hour clock. 13 hours is 1 o'clock, and 15 hours is 3 o'clock. So my efficiency has increased, and this is going to allow me to add more work to the schedule, more, to try and produce more. And the next goal is to add in the third video of the day, and that's going to be a bit of a leap, because the third video, which will be the documentaries, is going to be an hour in length, so I have to add another hour of video production into the schedule, and that's what I'm going to have to sort of see if how I'm going to adjust my efficiency to do that. In addition, a large chunk, due to the economic conditions, a large chunk of my funding has fallen off, so I've got to also go around and now figure out how I'm going to do my funding. If you're willing to help me out, I've got a little link in the down below bar. The down below bar. It's the first link that you're going to see. And that leads you to a page that says privately funded research, and all I'm asking for is if you can spare $10 a month, then yay. There's also there's a subscription bar, so you can do that. It's through PayPal, and if you ever want to stop supporting me, don't like what I'm doing or like what I say or whatever like that, there is an unsubscription bar button. So there's a subscription button, and then there's an unsubscription button. Click the unsubscription button, and that stops your support. and this is 10 US dollars a month. So what I have to do now is I have to increase my efficiency, and that's sort of, if you want to look at efficiency as the amount of things you can get done per unit time. In this case, this is the day. Then efficiency can increase and efficiency can decrease, right? That's because it's the rate of efficiency too. The rate of efficiency is the rate in which your efficiency, the rate of efficiency. Let's get the ellipse exercise so it's properly moving. Now, the rate of efficiency is the rate at which efficiency changes. Change in efficiency. Or we call it delta efficiency, or delta E. For those of you who go back, if you're still in school, you'll learn about this. You'll learn about the delta, the deltas, right? The change in. I mean, delta is if you do your physics, if you remember your physics from school. For those who are watching or you're outside of the school physics, the delta is the change in, and that leads to eventually your differentiation and limits. So you have a rate of efficiency, which is your change in efficiency, and efficiency can either go up or down. So you can have you can have negative efficiency, and you can have positive efficiency in terms of the increase. Then, of course, efficiency, because we are using this kinetic model to describe efficiency, and then naturally it leads that you can have an acceleration of efficiency and a deceleration of efficiency. So that means the rate in which you adjust to things can increase, or the rate at which you adjust to things can decrease. So this is sort of all the things I've got to think about and sort of plan into. If you look at the featured channels down below the playlists, you'll see that most of the institutes are already up there. This covers 95% of what I'm doing, and you'll be able to see as I produce all the different work that's out there. And this sort of leads me to the topic about, this is how I end up feeling during the day, and where I end up in terms of my life. My life is that it's kind of like being in school for the rest of your life. Because as I'm going into exploration, there is no one particular direction, because I'm using the random walk. There's no direction into where I'm going. It's sort of all over the place. It's, as I pick things up, it's kind of like that 8-year-old, or if you're 8-year-old, you find something, you see something, and then you pick it up, you look at it, and put it down, you go, the next thing, there's no real sort of plan to what you're doing. You go about and do it. Well, honestly, most exploration research is like this. Particularly if you're really going out onto the edges of knowledge, is because nothing is known. There's really no specific place that you need to start. You just simply need to start, and then start walking around and trying to get trying to get further. Just picking stuff up. You either put it back down, or if it's okay, you can, and you want to, you keep it and take it home with you. And this becomes part of your collection of things. And what you collect in terms of your collection of things in many ways says a lot about you. What your interests are, what you're learning, what you're interested in learning, stuff like that. And now this sort of collecting behavior kind of ends at 14. Most people, their so-called childish behavior ends at 14, and they start to become more mature. Well, in exploration research, getting past 14 never occurs. As soon as you get a handle on something, where you have a beginning of confidence, as soon as that occurs, if you stay building your confidence, you're doing something wrong. Because normally what should happen if you continue moving forward into the unknown, as soon as you hit that 14 mark of understanding, it immediately drops off and you're back down at you're back down at 8 years old, 7, 8 years old, where you have no real understanding of what you're doing, and you've got to build that understanding back up again. And it's this sort of existence going from no understanding to some understanding, back to none to no understanding again. So from 8 to 14, back down to 8 to 14 again. And the rate at which you do this, right? This is what I say. What's my age? Well, my age oscillates between the ages of 8 and 14. Oscillation is that circular motion, and it repeats itself. And so that's actually where my age is. This is sort of what gives me. It stretches my peer grouping. My peer grouping doesn't necessarily have to be by age, but it can be by, in terms of the physical age, but it can be according towards my mental outlook on things, if you want to put it this way, my outlook on things. And because my outlook and the view of my life is between the ages of 8 and 14, I can easily fit in with the 8 and 14-year-old crowd and be as comfortable with them as I am with someone who's significantly older. Matter of fact, I'll have a better time with someone who's significantly younger because my mind is not as closed off as the older person is. And that's what happens at 14. Your mind starts to close off. It starts to become more finite. And if you're between the ages of 8 and 14, the possibilities of what you can do is infinite. As soon as you hit that 14 mark, the possibilities of what you can do starts trailing off, starts leveling off, and it gets to, by the time you're 19, 20, and this is what happens to a lot of people, their childhood dreams are dead. And this is where the first, sort of, if you want to call it, the first midlife crisis hits, is at 20. Look at most 20-year-olds, some people are so freaked out, and when they finally hit that point where they realize they're no longer a child and they're out on their own, and they realize what the world of work is like, is that unlimited capacity is now gone. It's possible to open it back up again, depending on the field you're in. But for most people, that infinite capacity disappears, and they simply move on with their life, becoming whatever they're intending to become. My situation at exploration, I never got to that point because I'm always pushing forward into the unknowns. There is no trailing off of this possibility of the possibility of what I can be. It remains open to this particular. As I say, and Sheldon Cooper would love this. I mean, this is something he should be paying attention to, and so he can use in the show as Sheldon Cooper. As a physicist, because physics literally means nature and the study of nature, there is no limit as to where you can go, particularly if you're exploring the universe as a physicist. There is no limit. Your limit is because the limit that you have is the universe itself. So as soon as you know the universe, and that's that's called asymptotic knowledge that you can only approach, you can never achieve, then it's possible from physics to go to all the different directions. This has certainly been the case for myself, where if you look at all the institutes and say, well, how can you do all these things? Well, this is because I've been working on being the ultimate physicist, exploring the entire universe without any limits. And, in economics, you can use the modeling knowledge you've learned in physics to build a good economic model. And it fits, it works. I've tested it out. And a lot of people say, well, how do you understand this? Or how do you understand what's going on in economics? It's simple. I'm not an economist. I'm a physicist, and I understand things from the principles of physics, and I did the modeling on the economy from the perspective of physics, not from the perspective of economics. How do you do cybernetics? Because this is the thing. This is the whole thing of the Cybernetics Institute. This is the whole thing of Cyborg Alpha. How do you understand cybernetics? Simple. You use your methods in astronomy to go and study behavior science. It's the same methods. If you can't touch the stars and you have to understand the stars, then you have to use an observational method because you can't touch the stars. And this is the same method you need to use in psychology. You need to use the same observational models. And this is exactly what I did. Is I took everything I learned in astronomy and applied it to behavior science. I realized early on that lab animals behave significantly different from wild animals. Animals out in the wild, I learned this because years ago I used to have mice in here when I first moved in, more than 10 years ago. And I still do have a night vision Sony camera. So to catch the mice, I'd use the Sony Vision camera to sort of set things up. And these mice were unbelievable. The things they could do in order to get food. And because it was done through, the mice didn't live that long. You had generations of mice being produced within one summer. So you could see how the learning behavior was passed on from generation to generation. I could even see with this night vision camera the social protocols that mice had and still do have, that are wild mice. And when I was watching these documentaries using lab mice on behavior and stuff like that, the thing that popped into my mind was the behavior of the mice itself. A wild mouse, and they have this sort of this maze, these thin wall, and a mouse moves through the maze. Well, no wild mouse would ever move through the maze in the way that rat. You look at the rats and the mice in these labs. No wild mouse would ever do that. They'd never follow the maze. They'd go over the maze. And the mice that were wild mice were so intuitive in things. But not only intuitive, they're adaptive. They learned. They even learned because the way I had things, I wouldn't believe it. They learned how to. Mice can shimmy up a branch, up a tree. They don't have to use their claws. If they can get their paws around the way I've seen this in the Polynesians when they go up to get the coconuts at the top of the tree. They'll bind themselves and they'll get grip not with their claws but with their elbows, and then they'll shimmy up that branch. Well, I saw the mice doing the exact same thing in order to get at some food. I mean, this, and the thing is, I've never seen this behavior in lab mice. The adaptability of lab mice is significantly less than what we see in wild mice, and what wild mice can do. And so this is how I actually learned how to develop and design rodent-proof cabinets for food. I've learned how to, without using the poisons, how to get rid of the mice, how to keep them out of the place. I've learned, and this is something that most people really don't understand, is that, and I found out that mice, when food is certainly restricted, are extremely territorial and cannibalistic. If food drops below a certain level, they'll start cannibalizing their own. And it's even been known that they found this in the sewers of New York City, that female rats will produce young simply to eat them if food is scarce. But most mice and rodents, while they will do that to a certain degree, will move out of that area first before they really get to that point. So you can do the amount that you can get done, and this sort of once I started studying the behavior science like that, I realized that you needed a medical model of the human body to develop the android. This is after learning the behavior sciences, I moved into the medical sciences. But I didn't do it from the anatomical point of view. Most doctors learn the anatomy, and that's how they become doctors. They're doctors of anatomy, and this is why surgery is one of their primary methods of treatment. My perspective came from not from the mechanical side of things, but from the chemical side of things through organic chemistry and physics. Because organic chemistry is, integrally linked to quantum physics. So it's not a large step to go from quantum physics into organic chemistry, and then so you go from organic chemistry into medicine, and that's how I wound up in medicine. And this is how I wound up doing. I've been doing now for more than 15 years. I've been doing medical science, not from the perspective of drug discovery or anything else, but from the perspective of organic chemistry inside the human body. And I've even gotten to the point where I have produced the same results that large labs have produced in neuroplasticity. This is the malleability, the programmability of the human mind, or should say the human brain. I've also done successful work in organic chemistry in programming and reprogramming the human immune system. But these things, like most of the research, take years to accomplish. You start off very simply, and then you start increasing the complexity of the model as you move along. And this is the same thing with the Your Institute, where I've been watching the weather patterns and trying to get up a good thermodynamic model, we call it a thermodynamic lab, or an observatory, where I can see and look at the thermodynamics going on Earth. And I was able to achieve that just this year, actually, where I have a good understanding of what's going on in the Earth's atmosphere. And now I have to take and that's why I'm able to say it's not global warming. Global warming is not occurring. This whole thing about CO2, when I started looking at it, it began bothering because a lot of things didn't match up with what I understood about science. So I began doing, working on the physics in the atmosphere. And I was able to, using the GOES satellites from NASA and NOAA, I was able to put together a good observatory where I was able to watch and see what was actually going on. And I was started looking at other, what are called the physical mechanisms, the physics of this system, to see where the energy inflows were and where the energy inflows weren't, or what is the outflows. In any thermodynamic system, there has to be an energy inflow and an energy outflow. If you can find these 2 points and then start synchronizing with what's going on in the system, you now have a complete system that you can observe. And I was able to achieve this to a certain degree this year, is get up a good enough observatory that I'm able to track the energy inflows and the energy outflows from the system, from the Earth's atmospheric system. And I realized that what's going on is not global warming or climate change, but climate shift. It's a shifting of the Earth's atmosphere around the globe, and it actually kind of makes sense when you go back and think about it. What's actually going on? It actually does make sense, and it actually it falls within known principles of physics. So the model is sound in terms of how it fits. Now what I have to do is I have to do a confirmation, and because I need to take an entire season, entire year of observation, it's going to take me another 3 years to confirm what I'm seeing. I've seen it twice already. I've been able to track things where things go, and now what I have to do is I have to sort of follow this through for the next 3 years to confirm what I'm seeing and improve the observatory. So this is where things are going. This is the research behind, and in Comments X I will be describing more and more of the research I'm doing, and I'll also be doing the shout outs, I'll be doing the talk abouts. I'll try to get everything as much as I can involved in here. This is the first hello of the day, this is the review of the day before, and this is with the future outlook for the day and possibly into the week, and you can sort of see how things change and go along. Anyways, I'll leave you for now, and I will definitely see you tonight for the news.